Welcome to Van Lathan's The Red Pill, where we give you the brutal reality of truth. Today's guest is nothing short of hip-hop royalty. You guys know Rockefeller Records. We have had Damon Dash on the show, one of the architects of Rockefeller Records, and we have another one of them today, Kareem Biggs Burke, oftentimes referred to as the silent partner of The Rock. This guy means a lot to hip-hop. He means an inordinate amount to hip-hop. These guys changed clothing. They changed rap. They changed the culture. And now we're going to talk a little bit about how he was able to do that, about some of the struggles that he went through personally and professionally as being 1/3 of Rockefeller with Dame and Jay, about how going to prison changed the trajectory of his life and made him realize some things about him that he didn't know. He's going to tell me about the one artist that he wished he had signed when he was at Rockefeller, and the one artist that if he was starting Rockefeller today, he would sign. Fantastic. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about his sort of complicated relationship with Kanye West, and why Biggs has always been a guy that never ever needed the spotlight or the credit, something that we could all use a little bit less of. I'm on Instagram too much. I am too. By the way, we are still doing the ads for the community. I still need you guys to send in your companies and the black and brown community ads to put them out there to make sure we get these businesses highlighted. It's just that we got so many submissions that I'm trying to line these things up and sift through them. So it's taking us some time. We'll start back with them next week. Don't stop. Hit me up in the DMs. Now we're going to go to Biggs. We ask you guys every single podcast to clap. I make the white people in the room clap for all of my guests. I'm not nervous to make you clap, but I want to make sure, as we did when we had Dame here, that you give legends their proper due and clap for Kareem Burke, one of the architects of our culture. Give it up for him right now.
Oh, shit. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. That's true, man. When you hear yourself introduced like that, what does it feel like?
I mean, humbling. You know, so I don't look at it like that.
You don't?
No, and it wasn't until probably a few years ago when I started to see what we created and then the impact that it's starting to have, you know.
So while it was happening, you really couldn't see that?
Not at all. Had to be removed from that. Even enjoying some of Jay songs. You know, like when you're in it, you know, you feel it's a different process. Like when you're in the studio and you're creating, you're hearing the song 1,000 times over and over and over again, rather than just hearing it as a fan for the first time when it's released to the public.
Yeah, see, that's wild to me. The reason why I say that that's wild is because it took me a long time. I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm from Louisiana. So it took me a long time to, like, give Jay-Z, it sounds stupid, to give Jay-Z a chance.
Yeah.
Like, we're listening down there in Baton Rouge. We got our own style of music. We got hip-hop that we got, and their presidents would run on BT Rap City. Shout out to Joe Claire. And for a long time, I would turn from it. But then the moment I let it rock, the moment my brother was like, yo, that's Jay-Z. That's like one of the dopest rappers. The moment I let it rock.
How long ago was that?
I was like 15 or 16.
Okay,
yeah. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it was from the East Coast, and a lot of the East Coast stuff, like, we weren't on it as much. But the first time I heard his voice, I was like, that's that.
Yeah.
Like, that dude is a genius. And when you're in the studio, did you feel that same way, or or was it?
It was definitely prior to being in the studio with him. It was some songs that I heard from Clark Kent.
Another legend. Shout out Clark Kent.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what, like 95 South, Gotta Reach the Top. Those are some songs that introduce his sound and his combining street with the metaphors and the lyricism that he had to make him that complete guy early on. You know, obviously after that he started talking about worldly views and things like that and what he's seen. But at that moment, that's what spoke to me, because that was the life that I was living.
All right. Interesting to me. We never saw you the entire time.
Yeah.
Had no clue what you looked like. Only time we would see your name in the credits.
Yeah.
3 of that be like, no, Rockefeller's actually 3 guys. Now, with the way things are in society now, everybody has to be out front. Whatever you do doesn't matter. unless everybody knows that you did it. You have to put it on Instagram. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's. I'm just saying.
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking, not. There are plenty of people that move behind the scenes. What wasn't alluring about that for you?
I think it's probably my past life too. You know what I'm saying? Being a guy from the streets and doing what I was doing, I was always the guy that didn't want to be seen anyway. So it was just something that was I guess innately built, my makeup. That's just what it was. And then as I got into the music business, it just kind of stood there. And then we had a formula. Jay would be the mouthpiece for music, and Dame would be the mouthpiece for the business, right? And we just kind of kept with that. It was a point guard, it was a forward, there was a center, and we just kept that model. Pass it to the person closest to the basket, for the easy shot.
Right.
So, it just stood that way, and then I was very comfortable doing it. It's funny because it was this interview I just seen on Instagram, right? I think somebody tagged me in it, and so it's me, Jay, and Dame. I've never seen this video, right? So this is really, really early on. So Jay is speaking, and then it's a swipe through, right? So you swipe through, he finished talking, you swipe again, then Dame is speaking, and I'm right there the whole time, and I have my arms like this, so I'm like, what the hell am I about to say? And I never speak.
You never said anything.
So I'm just there the whole time. So I was just showing it to somebody yesterday, laughing like, this is really funny,
Was there ever times where you three guys went places and they knew them and didn't know who you were?
All the time.
You never felt like, because being 1/3 of it, and obviously there's a lot of younger people that listen to my podcast, but I would assume and hope that there's nobody that would listen to my podcast that wouldn't understand exactly what Rockefeller meant in terms of hip hop culture. Like, there were labels before, there have been labels after, but between commercially, culturally, and just from a swag perspective, the impact that you guys had was so huge. You never, ever, ever at any point was like, yo, I'm here too?
No.
Like, no.
No. I mean, I didn't do it for that. You know what I'm saying? It was a good business decision to start the, and for me, it was about building a business and then eventually selling it. We knew that from day one.
So from day one, the plan was to sell Rockefeller.
Yeah. Every time we build a business, we think about how to scale and sell it at the end. So once we did that deal with Universal, when we did the co-venture, there was a formula set in place to sell it at the end. So I think it was a 5 or 7 year deal, something like that.
So when
we did an extension.
When Rockefeller was sold, we were heartbroken.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the fans, man, like we were heartbroken. Like, because it seemed like all you guys were going your separate ways.
Yeah.
Did at any point did you guys feel like, and it's good to see you and Jay kind of back on the same accord now, you know what I mean, after so much time. At any point, did you guys feel, the fans on that, did you feel like there was a need to show unity even though the business part of it was?
No, I don't think we ever did anything for fans. We did stuff that made sense for us or the business, and if the fans appreciate it or not, that it was really on them.
Right.
But we can't make decisions, especially when you're business, on what the consumers are. You got to do what you believe in.
Right.
So a lot of times, even with fashion, you start designing and trying to get on calendar and then looking at trending reports and color waves, and then none of that stuff may sell. So you got to really do what's true to you. So it was all about not compromising integrity and doing what made sense. So that's why we actually did an extension instead of just selling it and just getting rid of the brand. In the first place, we did I think it was a 2 or 3 year extension after we sold, and a lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people don't know that. Like, so the deal with Rockefeller eventually was supposed to end when?
2002.
2002. And it didn't. It was a couple of years after that that it happened, right?
Yeah, 2005, I believe.
Right. So at that point, it was like, y'all was still getting money?
Yeah.
And you wanted to keep it going? Or?
Yeah, and then, and we had another guy who, had a nice sound, and, we thought he can be a pretty good artist at some point in time. And,
Who's that? I never heard that guy.
His last name is West.
Oh, that guy. I think I've heard of that guy. Yeah. So you saying like Kanye was one of the major reasons that kind of kept the
I wouldn't say a major reason is that so at that point Jay was doing S. Carter, and Dame left to run Rockaware solely. So I took over the music business.
Okay.
So I was doing it day to day, probably from 2001 till 2005. So I personally did Kanye's and Young Gun, and then Beans, and then State Property as well.
Why? Just like from a music executive standpoint, those were yours?
Yeah. Set it up, went to radio, picked the singles, everything.
Yeah, I just read something as I was doing my homework that you wanted Through the Wire. No, you wanted All Falls Down to be the lead single.
No, after it was. So after Through the Wire, Kanye wanted Jesus Walks.
Right.
And I thought All Falls Down was the better commercial, bigger single that spoke to his audience. And then to come back, because I didn't think that from Through the Wire to Jesus Walks was something that we should just jump into right away. Right. Because there's never been a song like that and a video like that played on radio from a hip hop artist that was commercialized.
What is it like trying to convince Kanye West to do something?
Early on, it wasn't that hard.
Oh, okay.
He always had his vision. Even with Jesus Walks, we would go to war with Universal because it was 2 different videos. I don't know if you guys remember, but he shot one for MTV and one for BET, which was
I remember. The one for MTV, there was one that was like a big and then there was another one that was kind of more intimate and stuff like that.
Yeah, so stuff like that, but we love that about Kanye and other artists too, that creative, the creative juices that they had and what they would bring to the table. So at that point, we agreed and we did a lot of the stuff that he wanted to do because it was his vision and it was a different sound and a different time and a lot of the stuff we agreed with. So the stuff that he probably didn't know, that was his first album, how to work records and things like that. So that's why I kind of took the helms with that. And I had an independent radio team, Don't Think Twice, who actually chased after Through the Wire, because Through the Wire wasn't doing well neither. So I think it was DC, Virginia, and Chicago. Those are the 3 stations that I had chased after, and then got with Benny Pugh, who's now the president of Rock Nation. Okay. At that time, he was the head of radio, and then him and I partnered up and then took Through the Wire. I think we got a #1 song, and then All Falls Down #1, and then,
We out of here at
this
point.
It's history.
History. I'm going to come back to Rockefeller, but I'm interested in the story of Biggs right now, and the reason why I'm so interested in it is because it seems like you're in the midst of a rebirth or a rebranding, or you're doing so many different things since you came home. Now, you came home a couple of years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago. Yeah. And when your feet hit the streets, what was your mentality?
I had no expectations, actually. I didn't know what I would do. It wasn't even on my mind what I would do. So I was really focused on my nonprofit when I first came out.
Talk a little bit about that.
So that's NCS Inside, and it's NCS is a Christian group of men. It's about 20,000 men, 60 chapters around U.S., and they fellowship and get together and just talk about men's problems.
Christian, yet he didn't want Jesus Walks to be the single. Wow.
No, I didn't say I didn't want it to be the single. I said I didn't want it to be the second single.
It's a joke. I was just joking.
Okay.
Big shot me the serious look.
That's right.
Hey,
hold. We're talking about the Lord right now. I can't play.
It was a joke, and he was like, "No, I didn't say that, dog."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, it's cool."
Let's get that clear, because the audience they won't even toggle back. They'll just be like, "He did say that."
Yeah. No, but so that group, that's kind of what was on fire with you.
Yeah. So, and as we encouraging men to go into prison, to build relationships with the men and help them as they transition back to society.
Sure. Insanely, incredibly important. One of the things that, as we tackle these social issues in society right now, there's far, far too long been an idea, and not so much in the black community, but in mainstream society, that bad people go to jail, and that's why you put bad people. That's not what you do. It's where you put people who've made mistakes, and you should put them there fairly, and we should also invest into making sure that recidivism is not on the menu when they get home.
Yeah.
So what do you see your experiences from your group? How do we nurture, educate, rehabilitate, get men and women who've been inside, give them what they need to succeed in society when they come home?
Yeah, well, for us, there's a lot of things that need to be changed. So for us, though, we took a different point of view, and it's about friendship, right? So a lot of times, even outside, right, kind of to go back, with Rockefeller, at the height of our success there, I lost my mother. My brother was killed. My brother-in-law was killed, and my best friend was killed, all in about 4 years, right? And then 3 of them was murdered, probably about 18 months span. So we didn't have the language or know how to really deal with that. It was just like, yo, you good? Yo, Dame, yo, you good? Biggs, all right, come on, we got this board meeting or this conference call or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I never really mourned. I never really went through the process, right? So friendship is what I needed at that time to get me through that, and we didn't have the language. Even though we were close, we were brothers and things like that. It's a different way. You got to really look at it. And a lot of times, we all needed time. You know, Dame losing Aaliyah, Jay's father, and then Dame eventually losing his pops as well. So without the friendship, it doesn't matter if you come out and you're married, successful, a job. That doesn't mean you're not going to go through problems. That still might lead back to a drug addiction or whatever it is you're going through. So we focus on the friendship, and we're hopeful that the friendship will get them through any problems that they may have, or just being the ear, you know what I'm saying, and being vulnerable and being able to talk about what we're going through inside as well. So I encourage a lot of the men, because I tell them, like, going in, you're going to receive more than what these guys are receiving. So guys coming out more encouraged, like, man, I think thought my life was bad. You know, you go in and you hear about how these guys are still encouraged after doing whatever, 5, 10, 15, 20, or even 30 years. You know, I went to prison about 6 months ago, and the lowest sentence was maybe 20-something years. It was like 45 lives, you know, and them guys were so encouraged that we would just come in there, especially coming from our circumstance, to go back into prison and want to just share a story with them. You know, so a lot of the friendship for us is really important in the relationship aspect of it.
You know, it's so crazy that you say that. I remember a friend of mine was going through some issues with his girl. This was maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago. I'm 38 now, so I was right around 29 or 30. And, you know, this dude I've known since we was 6 years old. My oldest, dearest friend. He's going through some issues with his girl. He was out of the house. And he was explaining to me how being away from his girl was hard enough, but what he could not deal with at all was being away from his kids. He said, yo, like every single day, and I don't have any kids, right? He'd be like, every single day I come home, right? I come home, and as soon as I come home, there's people that jump up and they say, hey, daddy, and they run over to me. And he's like, yo, my day can be hard, stressful, all that stuff. That moment right there changes my whole day around. And as he's talking to me, something happens that I've never seen happen before. He starts crying. And I'm thinking, what do I do? Because we haven't really had the type of relationship. We've gone through so much together, but in being men and in competition and different things like that, we've never had a situation, even at funerals, we just kind of look at each other and be like, yo, man, send one up for the homeboy. He was a good dude, and we move on. I was thinking to myself, like, how do I handle this? And really, I failed him. I was like, damn, dog, that's tough. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm trying to say I had no clue what to do, to the point to where I had to call my dad and get some counsel. And then go back over there and be like, fam, dog, are you okay, man? What's going on? As men, as black men especially, how do we learn how to express love for one another and sympathy for one another and empathy for one another?
Exactly. That's what I was just talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that language was lost with us. You know
so
what I'm saying?
What do we do to get it, though?
No, what I'm saying now, that's, you know, I learned how to be vulnerable in prison. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, having fellowships and stuff like that and talking about stuff that I've never talked about in my life. So to your point, when my brother got killed, I didn't go into church because I didn't want anybody to see me crying. You know, and it's so funny, to go back, I remember Kanye walking down the block and GLC and everybody, and I just greeted everybody. It was like, okay, go in. I sat in my car. And then I got back out and I seen everybody coming out and I greeted them. I was even too weak to be a pallbearer when we shipped them the same time, and somebody had to stand in for me. And I didn't go into church there neither. It took me 9 years to look at a picture of my brother. It wasn't until I was in prison and I was like, okay, yo, send me a picture of him. 9 years, I couldn't even look at a picture. That's how much I was hurt. And I never cried or mourned. So I had to do all of that in prison. So I had to learn that for myself, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that came from when I found God, you know what I'm saying, when Jesus stepped into my life. And then I started the fellowship and hearing other guys pour out. And then I was encouraged to do the same thing.
Now, when with your spiritual awakening, when would you say that you found God?
It was actually probably my last year. And I was running away from that. That was the first thing. When I went into prison, I said, look, I'm not writing a letter saying I hope this finds you in best health or stuff, the same prison heading that everybody sends. I said, I'm never doing that, and I'm not going to any religious group. Like I was like, that was on my mindset going in.
Right.
So, kind of actually God found me,
So I'm a man of faith. However, it's hard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all fallible human beings. It's just, it's a belief system that we hope that, or at least I do, that I hope that I'm getting better daily, you know what I'm saying? And then praying and just keeping that connection and relationship with the Lord. But it doesn't mean we're not going to make mistakes.
Yeah. It sometimes becomes something that, like, you wonder if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
You wonder if you're sacrificing enough. You wonder if God stepped on this earth right now, would you even recognize him sometimes?
Yeah.
With the way that your life is going. With all the places that you are, what are some of the things that you do to center yourself and make sure that you keep your spirituality bank full?
My partner and a friend of mine, Chip, is one of the guys who keeps me centered, so that's actually how he introduced me to the Lord, speaking to him. But at the same time, it's fellowship, and then it's my prayer, so I have a relationship myself, which I didn't have before. So I relied on him before, like, introduce me to the Lord, and would go to him, like, let's read scripture, or we would fellowship, or just talk about life. But then after I developed my own relationship with the Lord, then for me, it was easy to stand on my own. Yeah. So that's where I am now. Still making mistakes daily.
Still making mistakes, because what happens is,
doesn't make you perfect.
Right. I'm going good, and then all of a sudden, I have some Hennessy.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, I'm off the road.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maddie, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I only drink Douce.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my bad. I forgot about the branding. Oh, but shout out to the Douce people who hooked me up with some Douce, man. It's still up there on the counter because the bottle is so beautiful. I'm afraid to drink it.
Yeah.
The Douce is amazing, though.
Yeah.
So a lot of things changed for you while you were inside. Has the fashion thing, has that always been a part of what you wanted to do? Because that's something that you're like. When did that start?
I mean, that started 6 months after I was out. I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine, Radu, about music. He wanted to talk to me about music, and I was like, I'll go have the conversation. I asked him about what is he doing in fashion, and he had the brand 4th of November already. They was lacking funding, so me and my partner came and funded that, and then bought into the business, and then that's what started the fashion run for me. I like business. It's not something specific that I like, but anything in a lifestyle space is something that that I'm usually drawn to. So TV, film, fashion, spirits, not necessarily music anymore.
Everybody's saying that. Dame said the same thing. Dame said he doesn't have any interest in music anymore. What's that about? Why?
I mean, it was a business thing for me, and it's that came and went. I'm not trying to build, and I know how hard it is in the music business too, trying to find an artist and this, and then you start to manage, and it's a long process, and it's draining for me.
Right.
So I'm not interested in. I mean, I consult and for free and mentor artists and give them advice, but I don't necessarily need to be a part of what they're doing.
Right. If being that you guys were a part of the creation of one of the biggest hip hop empires, and probably, well, actually not probably, there's no doubt about the fact, whoever you think the greatest rapper of all time is, the most successful rapper of all time is only one guy. That can't be debated. That's just numbers. Because you're a part of that, is there anybody that you see right now that you're thinking, yo, if I was going to start Rockefeller today,
St. John.
That would be the guy that you would want to start.
St. John. I mean, that for a new artist right now. I'm not talking about anybody else. The big artists. I mean, obviously Drake is probably the biggest thing in the music business.
Right.
But St. John is somebody that's phenomenal to me right now.
What about St. John?
He sings, he raps, he has his flow, his message. He's like rock and roll. He has his own identity. I've been listening to his album like every day for the last probably 2 weeks since I found him. shout out to Tata who introduced me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then I ended up meeting him 2 or 3 days later, which was funny. Yeah.
Is that important to you? Like when you meet someone, when you want to do business with somebody, right? Numbers and figures matter, of course. But is the connection and sort of knowing that you're with a trustworthy person, a solid person, a stand-up person, that's how important is that?
That's everything. I mean, at this point in my life, I don't want to really be in business with anybody I don't want to be in a relationship with. You know, early on, it would have probably, you know, you chasing a check or whatever, somebody dangles something, you kind of go after it. But at this point, it's not about the money for me. It's about the relationship first. And if we can do business, then fine. And if not, you know, a relationship is just more important to me at this stage in my life.
What's the most important thing for people to know about you when they meet you?
That's a good question. I've never asked. I'm not sure if it's important or not, but it depends on what's the task at hand. You know, so if I'm going into a business meeting, I probably want to look under the cover and find out more about the company, more about the management, more about the numbers, the cap table, and things like that.
Right.
That I'm interested in the business, but not really talking about my past. It's probably what I could bring to the table and either how I can help the company or if I'm trying to, you know, acquire it or whatever it is. So I need the management to stay on or get rid of management and get somebody else so we can scale and you know, build and sell. But that's more or less what I look at.
Right.
And then, again, you know, what they've done in the past to see if there's somebody I want to move in the future with.
I guess I alluded to it earlier about, like, directly, how do you feel like prison changed you?
Definitely changed me.
How did it change you?
Because I never, one, I was able to mourn, right?
Right.
You know,
we talked about that.
That my family.
Did it change the way you attach things in business at all?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I am a little more patient, but I'm a very impatient person. But for what mostly changed about me is I was able to reflect. And I never sat down for no period of time and really looked at my life the way I did while I was in prison. Wow. So looking at things that I took advantage of, whether it was girls, money, power, things like that, you know, and looking at some of the bad things I did and trying to figure out who I was and how I could fix those things going forward, you know, even with family, you know, even with my son, you know, I don't think I did a great job. You know, I was in the house, but being just because you're present doesn't mean that you're a good father.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
That just because you're present.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in one room and he's in another room. I might be smoking or doing something, and you know, so it's a lot of those things that I looked at, and it was like I want to change that and then have better relationships. You know, when I came out.
You know, I love talking to you guys that have because something about hip hop was young, has always been young, right? It's always been. We never really had as many OGs as we have now. Yeah. We've never had as many guys who've been through the wars, been through the battles, and kind of able to speak to things with such authority. How much of your knowledge do you feel like is necessary to impart on the dudes that are coming up now? You said you consult for free.
Yeah.
Sometimes you give advice for free.
Yeah.
And then, and at the same time, you seem to be incredibly business minded. Like normally, I'll be honest with you, Biggs. On this podcast, I can break people down and get them to joke around and be super jovial and all of that stuff right there. I want you to listen right now.
Yeah.
There's nobody fucking moving in this room right here. It's a different energy. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you seem to be such a serious dude, but you also say that it's important for you to give back and give your time for free.
Yeah.
What makes you do that?
Because I know the mistakes that we made, and a lot of these young artists, entertainers, actors, whatever it is, they do stuff, and they sports players, athletes, they get into business, and they don't think that faucet is going to cut off. You know, so they start making money and, you know, spending it at a fast rate or private jets or whatever they've seen, or want to replicate the lifestyle that we used to live, right?
It's true.
So I know the mistakes we made, right? And flying private for 5 and 6 years, you know what I'm saying, trying to keep up and doing a lot of things. So, and I look at the business that they're trying to do, and I try to help them outside of that. I'm like, okay, you're doing this. What are you trying to do outside of that? You know this isn't going to last forever. So just try to help them build something that's sustainable, and then help them think about how to use their platform to jump into different businesses. Right. You know, so I think that's important because and education of learning business, right? So a lot of times they ask me about whether it's points, whether how to do the deal, or whether should they equity, or, you know what I mean, is it, you know, a lot of things. So I just try to help them so they can at least be more educated, so they know that they're making the best decision for themselves, you know what I mean, in the place that they're at right now. So that's important to me. And I use my social platform for that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so
Sure.
being vulnerable, like it was a message I wrote. I didn't know it was going to, you know, it was going to hit people like that. But when my brother, it was 15 years, September 6th, and I had wrote this long message, you know, about what I always point to myself. So I don't ever say what somebody else did this. I'm like, this is what I did wrong. This is what happened to me, and hoping that I can use my story, that it can just change one person, and then hope maybe it's a snowball effect that may change millions, you know.
Yeah. When you talk about, you know, sort of sharing things like that and talking about different issues that you've been through, what were some of the things, because we every single old head that I've ever known told me not to make all the mistakes that I've ended up making. Right? They told me not to do this. They told me not to do that. They told me not to get involved in certain situations. Like, we look at y'all and we see y'all, we revere y'all so much. Why don't you think that the younger generation, why is it always so hard to make them see the right way to do something?
Because we hard-headed, right? The same way you are and I was growing up, right? And whether it's parents saying don't do this or don't sell drugs or stay away from this neighborhood, you know, we follow our own paths and make those mistakes. I can't say, you know, what it is or not, or whether it's had something to do with the schooling, community, or parenting, or maybe all of the above. I mean, I don't have that answer for that, but at the same time, it's just like, still just try to help, you know. So, you know,
what you can.
Yeah. So, I speak a lot, you know, I go around, I talk, I do, you know, speaking engagements. I use my social platform, and then people reach out to me as well, you know.
Y'all talk about ownership a lot. Culturally, black people own hip hop. Blacks and Latinos own hip hop, right? Young black and black people own hip hop. In order to kind of go where you're going to go in hip hop or in fashion, especially the fashion that we're talking about, you got to get a stamp from certain guys. Kanye got to stamp you, Hov got to stamp you, Drake got to stamp you, Dre got to stamp you. But from a business standpoint, we still do not own rap, right? It's still guys like Lucian Grange. It's still guys like that run our culture. How, if you were plotting out the course, how would we own our culture? Because we own it culturally, but how will we be the people at the top of these? Because that's kind of what's happening over there with Tidal and what's happening with Rock Nation. This is the upstart. These are the upstarts. What happened with what Puff is trying to do at Revolt? Like, as a community, as a culture, how do we build the infrastructures and the systems to own this stuff so that we create the generational wealth that we need to maybe be able to sort of push past some of the problems we have?
Well, specifically in music, I mean, you know, you got to raise money and have your own distribution arm and marketing arm. I mean, it takes a lot of money to do that. So these were companies that existed before, so they're just doing what they're known to do, right? It's just it's a cycle. Like, bring more artists in. Don't matter what the genre. If it's something that's popular, you know, sell it, and then, you know, and try to make money off of it. But, you know, at the same time, I mean, it's to say to bring it back. I mean, it's money, really. At the bottom, right? At the end of the day, you need money because you need to put an infrastructure in place. And before you do that, you need to raise significant funds if you're talking about taking the whole thing back. And then at the same time, just because you do that, and then the people or artists need to believe in you as well. So you might have this big system, right? So Jay has a huge system, but not every artist signs to Rock Nation. Right. So they need to believe in your staff and what you could bring to the table as well. But I mean, there's so much right now, independent TuneCores, and I think Rock Nation has their own distribution that they building, or it's built already. I was speaking to them about that the other day. But, you know, you could take, you don't really need companies like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? You can build the buzz and then just put your music out yourself. You know? Yeah.
So I mentioned a couple of times that we had Dame up here, man. And I talked to Dame a lot.
Yeah.
Dame is he's hard on me, bro.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, man, listen. All the people out there, if you really want to test yourself, have a couple conversations with Dame and Dash. Dame, he holds you accountable, is this and that. Dame wants me to just leave leave, start my own thing, do my own thing, blah, blah, blah. Fuck my plans.
Yeah.
Dame's got to figure it out. But his energy and everything is so infectious, his hustler spirit. What was it like when you first met him, specifically your relationship with him when you guys were going through doing your whole thing with Rockefeller? What was the kind of the dynamic between you and Dame?
Brother, you know what I mean? Best friend, motivational speaker, leader, visionary.
Without a doubt.
You know, so he had all those qualities, you know, so he can get in the room, you know, rile the troops up, you know, go out, you feel like, oh man, I could go and be Donald Trump tomorrow, you know, after having that 10-minute conversation with him or whatever. So, I mean, a great mind and a very, very smart guy.
Do you ever envision a time, because I see the pictures with you and Jay, is a beautiful picture of you and Jay and B. I guess y'all was all going to a war show or something like that. Or something like that. Do you ever think that there'll be a time where that picture might have Dame in it?
I mean, yeah, it's so funny because I see, like, you know, on my messages, it's like I can't take a picture with somebody and they be like, well, where's Dame? Like, it's a fucking picture. Like, what do you mean? So every picture that I take, I have to say, yo, Dame.
Yo, Dame. Hey, yo, we want to see you an Uber before we take this picture. Come up here and jump in the picture.
It's a picture. Because I take a picture with somebody doesn't mean, you know, so Dame is in thousands of pictures. I don't know if they ask him, yo, where's Big?
Where's Big?
Like, we can't take pictures or have a business that we don't, you know, I don't work with. So just to get this straight too, because a lot of people hit me up for music. I am not in the music business and I do not work with Jay. That's my brother. Dame is my brother, you know. Yeah. It's just that we hang out sometimes. And that's it. I've never had a, you know, I mean, I did have a job one time when I was 14 for like 2 weeks, but you know, like I told Dame, I don't work for anybody. You know me, I've never had a job, you know what I'm saying? So I'm an earner, I'm a hustler. So I'm going to go and create something and create my own space and then do what I want to do.
Ever try to broker anything between those two guys so they can get back on a good accord?
No. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know if it's anything to broker, you know what I mean? Like, I know they were together, but while I was, you know, they were sending me pictures while I was in prison together.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So there was no beef or anything to speak of after that. So, you know, it's even Dame. I mean, I've seen him, it was probably 2 years ago. We speak more, you know, than I see him. But last time I spoke to him was probably 3 months ago when I was out here. But I mean, there's no problem of beef. I mean, I'm just doing my own thing. He's doing his own thing. We are actually replicating the same formula.
Same thing.
Yeah, he's in fashion, spirits, that's, you know, TV, film. Like, everybody's just doing the same thing by themselves. So it's not a problem. I mean, we just talked about hip hop. I've seen my blood brother one time in probably the last year and a half. So doesn't mean that I have to see Dame or Jay or anybody else, you know what I mean? It's just that, you know, Jay and I, we probably text more, but at the same time, our schedules don't permit for us to spend a lot of time neither, you know what I mean? So we just enjoy the time that, you know, what we have when we together. Even when it was Rockefeller, me, Jay, and Dame, I probably spent more time with Tata than anybody else, you know what I mean? So
was there anybody like when you guys were doing the Rockefeller thing that you wish you had signed?
That I could have, probably Fabulous. Fab. Clue brought that early, and I decided not to sign.
Why?
It was funny because he used to do this thing like, and I was like, yo, that's annoying. And now it's funny because I love it. You know what I mean? Because like that's become his signature thing. But I mean, Fab is super dope. You know what I mean?
Bruh, when Fab first came out, Fab was putting the joints out. We liked every Fab song. Every Fab song that came out, like, I can't deny it. All of the stuff that he was coming out, it was all good. But it was a couple years after that, well, actually not even a couple years, when we started really getting into the tapes and stuff, when you listen to Fab, you'd be like, yo, this nigga's nice.
Yeah. And
not nice, like, not like, oh, now he can rap. Yeah. But he is next level, A+ lyricist, nice.
And I truthfully, I never really gave him that shot. You know what I mean? So I would hear the singles and stuff. And like you said, over probably, I want to say the last 3 years or so, you know what I mean? I've been really digging down and listening to his stuff. And I was like, yo, this, and people like, yeah, of course. Like, that's Fab. Nice. I'm like, all right, I'm a little late. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's a, you know what I mean, great dude. Like, we're good friends and everything, you know what I mean? But I just, you know, it's funny because I was just telling him I want to see him perform too. Because like that project he had with him and Jada was amazing to me. Like, amazing.
Freddie versus Jason joint?
Yeah.
So he's now, you know, when he get on the mic, you know, he don't miss. But so Fab was probably the one artist back then that you wish. What do you think about sort of, because y'all made stars, and then y'all made big stars, and y'all made culture changing mega stars, right? And one of the culture changing mega stars y'all made, Kanye West.
Yeah.
Kanye West, despite whatever, is the most important hip hop cultural figure to me of the last 15 years. Jay was a little bit before that. But the reason why I say that is because
I get that.
As a contemporary artist, you know, you had Jay come through, and Jay was just super nice, but that was coming right off Big, right? So after Big was gone, Jay takes it to the next level. Kanye was the first guy that, as an artist, changed the way I thought, listened to music, dressed, and looked at the world. Yeah. All in one. Everybody else, you know, took a while. You go a different artist for different things. Yeah. Watching kind of everything that he's been going through and seeing everything that's happened with him, what do you think?
I mean, I obviously he needs somebody in his corner. If he doesn't, you know, to kind of
he's doing better now, we should say. He's doing,
he's, well, I mean, it's not on a rant like how he was before, but, you know, when I see that, it hurts, you know, when he says some of these things. I know he's went back and taken some of this stuff, taking it back, but because I know his heart. Right. You know, so the Kanye that I knew was the guy who would be like, oh, man, this girl wants to see me. He'll get off the road and fly to some state, you know, whatever it is, in Minnesota or something, to go visit some little kid's school or something like that, you know, or if somebody had a problem, go visit them in the hospital. Like, I knew his heart, and he would do that not for press, you know what I mean? So those are the things that we had. So when I see the things that's going on, it's like, wow, you know, and then, you know, the mental instability that you know, and being, I think it's bipolar or schizophrenic. I know they have a lot of the same traits. I mean, it's a tough thing because there's no cure for that. And I know some people close to me that's had some of them problems, and then the medicine, like, is all trial and error, you know. So they give you a bunch of pills and a bunch of pills, and they go, okay,
the dosage.
Adjust this, then you start gaining weight. So for like women, that's how, you know, a lot of women would stop because they gain so much weight. They was like, I'm not taking these pills, and then they stop taking them, and then they become sick, and then they lose all this weight and their mind at the same time. So a lot of times now when he's speaking, I don't know where it's coming from. And, you know, is it something that's going on with him mentally, or is this something that he's just opinionated with? And it's kind of hard to figure out which Kanye is speaking. You know what I'm saying? So right now it's just a point that I just hope that something happens that can get him some help, because I think he does mean a lot to the world, you know, as the artist that he is, because he's such a cultural icon at this point. And like you said, he changed all these different things.
All of those things.
You know, if it's a way to get back to that and then push the people forward in a positive way, that's just what I'm hoping for. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's sad.
Yeah,
it's sad.
I think that
and just to add too, because I seen the interview with him and Charlemagne, because even some of the stuff that he's saying is just like, you know, confusing. Like when he'll say, and this is something I thought about. I've never said this on air too. I'll give you the exclusive for this.
That's what I'm talking about.
And while I was in prison, right, and I did Kanye's first album, right. Soup to Nuts, right? The first thing I told Dame J. Luck.
For people that don't understand the music industry, when you say did the album.
Right, so I went in, listened to the album, seen the genius of it, picked the singles, hired the radio team, the marketing, we moved them around on tour. Once he started to get some success, I mean, Dame has admitted this all the time, then everybody else jumped on board. Lior didn't want to deal with it. Nobody in Def Jam cared about the project. They said that actually they would drop him and we could take him someplace else. So I had so much to do with the success, and, you know, so, you know, being in prison or looking at, you know, a award or something and seeing these shout outs and all these things. And he's never one time said, yo, thank you to Biggs or anything. Right. So that was something I had to fight with in myself. Like, do I really care? Do I want the notoriety, or am I just happy that I got somebody off? Like, when you sign somebody, it's not like they have to do this, right? You don't sign them and say, okay, yo, if you become successful, you need to start giving me my props once you make it. So that was something I had to deal with too. So when he was doing his interview with Charlemagne, and he was like, he was going through this this tough time because people wasn't accepting him or giving him
accolades.
Yeah, for what he's accomplished.
Yeah.
It brought back to how I was feeling. I was like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are people to feel like that.
Yeah.
And then he would say stuff like, well, you know, when I was with L.A. Reid, you know, I had radio, and then I didn't have radio
anymore because L.A. Reid wasn't pushing that records.
L.A. Reid don't do radio.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, is this guy confused or not? That's Benny Pugh.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're there every day, Benny Pugh did the radio. That's why L.A. Reid was so successful with all those projects.
Right.
But you surround yourself with staff with great people who do their jobs, you know, individually but separate. You know, L.A. Reid ran the company, but Benny Pugh did that. You know what I mean? So like I would think that he knows that. So it's just like, yo, if you're gonna have this platform, speak to the people who's really, you know, who put you
right,
who put you there.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with that, I'm just saying it was something that I had to look at in myself. Like, why do I want him to say that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, you know, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Did you ever get the answer to that?
No.
You still don't know why specifically you wanted him to say that?
No. And it's funny. And the last time I seen him, I just seen him in when Virgil just did Louis Vuitton thing.
Yeah, out in France or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny. He seen me. I was like, yo, what's up? He was like, hey, man, how you doing? And then walked away.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I was, you know, I was like, you know, like, did I do something to this dude or something like that? Like, yo, fam, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So afterwards, I seen him again, and I gave him 5, and I was like, yo, man, I love you, man, I'm proud of you. And then he just like, yo, I love you too, you know. So that felt a lot better and authentic, you know. So, but regardless of that, I wish him the best, and I hope that he gets back to that place that he was before, musically and mentally.
Yeah. Do you like for you the feeling of maybe one time not even wanting it, but thinking, you know, it might be nice if he just said what up or gave true. Forget about that. Accolades maybe not important.
Yeah.
Is credit important? Meaning, I don't need all the awards and all the shine. But if you start saying, let's just say for whatever reason, you start saying these are the people who did something for me. If you're leaving them out, and then they leave out Biggs, forget about accolades.
Yeah.
But is the credit where it's deserved something that matters?
I don't know if it really matters or not, but it's still to that individual or me speaking. I'm saying I'm sure that it would sting.
Yeah.
Whether it's short but it's something that I need to get over. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was bringing it back to myself. Like, Biggs, why are you, for what? So people can know? Or do you really care about, you know, you gave this guy something and look what you did, you know, and just be happy for that. So I had to really look at that and be like, look, I'm over that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I just wish him the best. You know, but, you know, when I seen him, I was just like, damn, yay, it's Biggs.
Right.
Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? But maybe that wasn't the time and place. You know, he's coming in, you know, a lot of people.
You know what's crazy
whatever.
about that is this is why you need to have conversations with your OGs. Because I went through that on some real petty shit. And I'll talk about it. Like, earlier this year, we did like they erased Colin Kaepernick's name from like an EA Sports game, right? And they erased his name from an EA Sports game, and I'm going back, I'm talking to Colin's girl Nessa, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna encourage people not to be mad about this, because to me, anger and tears don't solve problems. Action, organization, motivation, that's what solves problems. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm gonna encourage people to take the money that they would have spent on the Madden game and donate it to Colin Kaepernick's Know Your Rights camp. So if you're that mad that you could do an Instagram post about it, take, you know, $59.99, not a whole ton of money. I know that's a lot of money. I don't want to say that's a lot of money to some people, especially in my community where I'm from. But whatever you can, just donate a little money, so make sure Colin Kaepernick can keep doing what he's doing. All right? That's a much better way to deal with this problem. So telling us about that, then I wake up in the morning and I hear Charlemagne, I hear Angela Rye. I'm like, listen, I need you guys' help. I want to start this challenge to get people to donate money to Colin Kaepernick's thing. And then I sent it, I made a video, put it up there, and then Charlemagne reposted the video, then Angela Rye reposted the video. And when the press started covering it, obviously he is a major fucking celebrity, and I am me. So it became Van Lathan joins in on Charlemagne the God's, like, whatever challenge. Or Charlemagne the God did this, and a little tiny print Van Lathan started it. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first woke up and I looked at it, I was like, nigga, that was my idea.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I just happened to be on the phone with my mom, and my mom said, okay, son, this is a very good way to get all your blessings cut. And I was like, what? She was like, what do you care about?
Exactly.
Do you care about Colin Kaepernick being able to do the work that he's doing for these kids, or do you care about a lot of people knowing that you did a good thing?
Yeah.
I took one step back, and I said, Mama, can it be both? No. No. And I said, what I said to myself is, you have to care about the results.
Yeah.
You gotta care about the results. You gotta care about what it was that what it is that you did. Now that's one small thing for me. I would imagine it's even harder for someone like you who's been a part of so many careers and so many big things. It's almost kind of superhuman not to want credit and see your name in lights and stuff like that.
But I had to go back to why I got into it, right? I didn't get into it for the credit. I was the silent partner for 20 years, so it was just that because he was speaking and, like I said, in that platform, and I was just like, because I know I personally, touched, and worked, everybody worked really hard on that, with Rockefeller and Def Jam at that time too. But I think it was something good for me because I,
taught yourself a lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like my mom taught me one. Love you, Crystal. Talk a little bit about Jay-Z, like more than a rapper now, more than an entertainer.
Yeah.
Like I took 444 as a master class, and how to look at contemporary society.
Yeah.
And it took a while for him to get there. He took some steps back, took some steps forward.
Yeah.
But always seems to just take any shot from anybody, let it bounce off of him, and keep getting the work done. What's so special about Hov?
That's a good question, man. But for me, it's definitely inspirational, and he just stays true to who he is, which has always been amazing to me. Early on, it'd be if Jay's getting $10,000 for a show and somebody offers $150. If he just doesn't want to do it, he won't do it. So he was always that guy. I remember calling him because somebody had some money. I think it was like $1 million a show to do 2 shows and $1 million a piece, $1.5 million in UK. And the team was like, nah, Jay's just tired. He's just going to relax for a little bit.
Turn down $2 million. Damn.
But the money never moved them. It's whatever feels right, So you think about, turning down Super Bowl and things like that. It's like he really has to be in a strong place mentally because he knows what that can do for his career, especially dropping a new album, with all the stuff going on. But he still is like.
What was the reason that he turned down the Super Bowl? Was about the NFL?
I believe so. He said it on the song.
Oh, he said it on the song. Yeah.
So Jay is you usually know what's going on in Jay's life, whatever is happening in that whatever album he's dropping. Yeah. And same thing for me. Like if I hear something, I'm like, okay, he's either about to do a deal or something's coming up or this and that. So he usually gives everybody everything when those albums drop. But that's just his DNA. To keep it simple, Jay has been like that from day one. And I think it's probably strengthened now because he's seeing the impact that he has when he does something, whether it's a tweet or whether he supports, doing the Trayvon Martin or the, I forgot.
Fantastic work on the Trayvon Martin.
Or the, and what was the other one?
Khalif Browder.
Yeah, Khalif Browder.
Look at Austin.
Yeah.
Austin, you saw the Khalif Browder documentary? Okay. Austin's a white dude. He watched the Khalif Browder documentary. Austin, you get to be black for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. It's over. Don't say the N-word. Anyway.
So, that's his DNA.
Right.
And I learned a lot from that, too. He's always sticking to his guns and saying no to something if it didn't mean that he was pushing his agenda forward. Yeah. That can help others.
Yeah. Amazing. So I got to ask a couple hip-hop nerd questions now.
Yep.
Nerdy shit.
What's good?
I don't know if you can tell, Biggs, but I'm a nerd. It's okay. You somewhere, you probably, in a hot tub, you're drinking Cristal or Ace of Spades or something like that, and you hear a record come on. The record is Ether. The first time you heard it, you thought what?
I was like, it's all right. Like, to me, it wasn't better than Takeover. So
biased. Ether's not better. By the way, let's go ahead and get into this. Shout out to B. Dot. Shout out to Hovain to Cass, to the rest of my New York niggas that keep trying to tell me and explain to me why Takeover is better than Ether. Why is Takeover better than Ether? To me, Ether is the ultimate hip hop diss track to me. But well, Hit 'Em Up is, but Ether. But why is Takeover better than Ether?
I liked what Jay was saying, the lyrics, the message, the flow, and the beat. And it was really smart, like the way he did it with the going back and forth with the, I forgot what was the artist on there singing and shit, but it was just overall better than me.
Better.
Yeah.
Do you understand the big deal about Ether?
No, definitely. I mean, at Ether, I probably appreciated the song, years later, but it still, to me, is not a better song than Takeover,
Not at all. So you feel like in that battle, Jay won?
Definitely. Then Jay kept going as well,
Do you feel like that most people feel like that? Or you feel like because Ether, because
I don't know if it's with most, because then we have to take polls, right? Because now we're talking about millions and millions and millions of people.
Well, the Hot 97 did a poll that time, and Ether won the poll.
Oh, okay.
You don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah, don't matter to me. I like Takeover better.
You know what's funny? What's funny? I hope Dame doesn't mind me telling the story, but I was at Dame's crib one time, and whatever back and forth between Dame and Jay exists or has existed or whatever, I remember I straight up asked him, because I asked all y'all this question, and Dame goes, "No contest, Takeover's better." It's like, no, it's not. It's like, and it's like, no contest, it's better.
Yeah,
it's better. It's better. It's not even close. It's better. I'm like, well, it's not. It's better. But Dame was no. If you know hip hop, it's better. Now you can't say shit, because now it's like, if you say shit, you don't know. Do you feel like either at any point shook Jay up?
No, he didn't show any chinks in the armor, while we were together about it,
All right. What is the best?
And probably because we're inside of that, right? So everybody around that circle is probably believing the same thing, probably, or not talking about Ether the way it is. So you get lost too when you're closed in. So again, when I'm removed from the music business, I was able to appreciate a lot things a lot more being removed from it. Like now listening to stuff, I can say, oh, I don't like that song, or this one is cool, or I don't agree with that.
What's the worst song in Rockefeller history?
One song?
Worst one song, one album, whatever. You listen to it and you're like, how the fuck did we make that? What were you thinking, Just Blaze?
I don't know. I gotta get some careful thought.
Is there anything that, forget about worse, is there anything that you heard and like you still feel like that was kind of like not it?
Well, I know, definitely, like Sunshine.
Why everybody always?
Because that was the first single after the album, after we dropped Reasonable Doubt. We came back with Sunshine.
Bro, I remember the shock on people's faces. Like, my boy Ian was like, yo, what the fuck are Dame and Jay doing?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even so much about the...
I'm glad they couldn't say Dame J Biggs. Nobody knew me then.
Right.
So,
it wasn't
so
even
give them the credit.
Right. It was even more than the song, my G. It was the video. The video, they was like...
exactly. The video,
on the fucking
the roller coaster.
With
big heads.
In the big heads, and then they also have like the multicolored suits and the folded. Yeah. How did that happen?
Hype. Yeah, Hype Williams hyped it up, and the song. I mean, we were just caught up at that time, chasing Puff.
Yeah. So it was kind of the shiny suit era situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
That
had to go right back. Streets watching. Shout out to Shaka. That was her idea.
Streets was watching was cold.
Yeah.
Cause y'all really got right back to business. Y'all tried. Y'all was like, nah, fuck this. Like,
look, you gotta get off it real fast.
Right.
Don't come with another one like yo.
Don't
another commercial. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Y'all came right back with Streets was watching. Was there competition wise? Were y'all were in competition with Puff and them like that? Like, I mean, I'm sure.
I mean, we wanted to be the best, and at that time, Puff, he had the keys to the city. Puff was killing it at that time.
Right. What do you think about how sort of his transformation, like what he's doing now? He's a huge pillar in the community, doing a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, it was funny. We and him just spoke recently.
Oh, word? What was that like?
It was funny because me and Puff never had a conversation ever.
In that whole time?
Yeah, it wasn't until last year me and Puff spoke for the first time.
What did y'all? Was it?
No, we laughed about it.
Y'all wonder how in the fuck we never ever spoke before?
Yeah, because it was after the Oscars, and he was going around like, yo, me and Biggs never spoke. We never spoke. And then, no, it was for the Grammys.
For the Grammys.
And then the Oscars, me and him, seeing him at the party, the gold party. And then actually that Friday, me and him hung out the whole day, all night. So I went to his office, then him and I went to get some dinner. And then afterwards went to his crib, you know what I mean? But me and him one-on-one got to chop it up. And I mean, he's a very smart dude. And, looking at him and seeing, he gave this speech at the after party for the Grammys, and you started to see the genius of what he can do and how he controls the room, because it was all mega stars in his room and everybody's looking up at him, and he's giving a speech and he's stopping almost like a song, and he kept repeating stuff like a hook. But it was all off the top. Like he was controlling the room and his speech was like a song. And I was just like, wow, this dude, he's special. I could see why people really listen to him or drawn in, But I definitely applaud what he's doing right now. And he's always trying to support somebody else.
Always.
Which is really good. So when I had these 2 movies in Tribeca Film a couple months back.
I want you to talk a little bit about your film stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he FaceTimed me right away. He was like, yo, what can I do to help? You know what I mean? Which was amazing to me that he reached out like after.
That's love.
You know what I mean? So I definitely applaud everything that he's doing right now.
Talk a little bit about the film world and some of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, so I just executive produce. There's 2 projects. One is a narrative starring Jeffrey Wright.
Fantastic actor.
Yeah, I think he's probably the best of our time today.
For me,
yeah,
pound for pound, I'm not talking about who you like to watch in big budget movies, or I'm talking about a guy who can turn himself into a character.
Yeah,
doesn't get any better than Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah. I think right now of our time, he's he's the best. Yeah. So I have that, and then a narrative a documentary. Both of them got picked up.
Last thing I want to ask you, because I know you got to go, busy man. I read an interview where someone asked you a question and they said, when you guys started off with Rockefeller, was it about business or did you want to change the world? And if I can remember, your answer was, it was a good business move.
Yeah.
It was always about business.
Yep.
Now looking forward in the next portion of your life.
Changing, yeah.
It's about changing the world.
Yeah, because a lot of people like Biggs, you want $1 billion, you want this and that. And I was, for me, if I could change 1 billion lives, I'm that would be more successful than making $1 billion or whatever it is. Obviously, I'm doing things for money now, right? These businesses.
I keep the lights on.
Yeah, but I do want to be an agent of change in some form or fashion, and I don't know what that looks like right now going forward. So connecting with people daily and then just figuring out things. I'm 44 now, but as you get older or wiser, rather.
So you're younger than all those guys.
Yeah, I'm the youngest one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good. That's okay.
Yeah. So, I'm just looking at things a lot differently now. And again, how we can help the next generation, older or younger, actually, because a lot of people can learn from the messages that we're putting out.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Give it up for Kareem, Biggs, Burke right now. Clap loud. How you gonna use me, man? Like how we gonna do business together? What you got for me?
It may not be business, just a relationship, and let's figure out what happens from there.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Man. But I'm not gonna lie, I have my own ideas. I'm gonna send you a blue link to my 13-track demo.
Oh man, no music.
No,
send that to Rock Nation.
We out. Give it up for
shout out to Dame and Jay, man.
Shout out to Dame and Jay, man.